It will be cool to see skiing start for the NL and scuba start for the AL tonight. And after both exit the game, you could probably shut the All-Star game off and head to bed. I'm Zach Gelb.
Get a $15 prepaid MasterCard after rebate when you buy 5 quarts of Mobil 1 full synthetic motor oil at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us too in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
If Twisted Tea was your best friend, they'd start a dance party in the supermarket that turns into a pool party at your place, and you don't even own a pool. Twisted Tea is smooth, refreshing, and always fun. Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Keep it twisted.
Twisted Tea Brewing Company.
Savings are heating up, and so are the summer super deals at the used car superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile. You don't need super strength to get approved for credit. Sheeler owns the finance company. Getting approved for credit is super easy on the Motor Mile with financing options for every budget. Sheeler makes car buying easy with the hottest brands all in one location. Cars, trucks, vans, SUVs. Many have miles in the teens, remaining factory warranties, and some are even local one-owner vehicles. Over 900 used vehicles in stock now and ready to move. More than any other dealer in the area. Plus exceptional service, selection, and savings. Need some summer spending cash? Sheeler will buy your vehicle even if you don't buy from us. Plus super money for your trade. Volume selling means volume pricing. And we've got the volume with over 900 used vehicles in stock now. No games, no gimmicks, just summer super deals at the used car superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile. Your premier used car dealer. Locally owned for over 50 years. ID1 exit 118C in Christiansburg. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at Sheeler.com.
Car insurance rates are rising rapidly. That's no secret. It's because the cost of medical care for those who are injured and the repair and replacement cost of damaged vehicles is skyrocketing. But what can you do about it? Hi, this is Judd Gardner with Gardner Insurance Solutions in Lynchburg. We've been helping Central Virginia drivers purchase the coverage they need at affordable prices since 1993. Talk with us before you pay again. We represent numerous companies and have many cost-saving strategies. Gardner Insurance Solutions, 434-316-5433.
You're stepping into the fast lane on the VTRN Sports app, 93.3 FM and 1320 AM Lynchburg, or by asking Alexa or Google Home, open VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, take the fast lane through the topics that matter across the Commonwealth. This is the Fast Lane with Ed Lane.
Imitation might be the most sincere form of flattery. That's going to be one of our themes today in the Fast Lane, because the Washington Commanders might be imitating the New York Jets and the stance that they take with wide receiver Garrett Wilson, or the Jets just took with Garrett Wilson, 4 years, $120 million contract, average annual value of $30 million per year. Wilson's, I wouldn't call him teammate because they never played together, but schoolmate, because they both went to Ohio State University, Terry McLaurin, is also seeking a contract extension with the Washington Commanders. Now, McLaurin, the wrong side of 30. Once you hit that number, the amount of years you have left and the amount of leverage you have is going to diminish, whereas this is the first big extension for Garrett Wilson. By the way, file this one away. I wouldn't say this is totally a detour, but perhaps you could disagree at Fast Lane, Ed Lane, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. File this one away. This is one of the examples of when someone's like, oh, a guy like Garrett Wilson could stick around at Ohio State. Let's go a different route. Jeremiah Smith could stick around after he's draft eligible at Ohio State because they could give him more NIL money than he would get as a rookie. Yeah, I mean, maybe by $100,000, $1 million bucks. But for a player like that, you're not worried about that. You will take that money as a rookie, sure, by being a first-round pick. But your rush is to get through 3 accrued seasons so that you can get a bigger contract extension. And that's what many of these players are doing. It's not on the scale of basketball. But it's why your guy, Cooper Flagg, was never returning to Duke. I'm sure, TJ, you're probably smart enough to recognize this.
No, very much so. Coop was never coming back to Duke.
But there are fans, and then there are, media members who gobble it up when someone, I'll use air quotes, and you can laugh, especially those at Fastlane, Ed Lane, on VTR and Sports and Facebook Live, because they're coming now. Those sources who leak to the mainstream media outlets, oh, he's considering coming back. No, that's trying to get as much leverage as possible from somebody that might have some kind of an endorsement deal, and therefore you want to squeeze as much there. Because when you're talking raw contracts, the rush is to get to the second contract at the professional level. Because as soon as you get that, NBA, 3 to 4 accrued seasons, NFL, you're eligible after your third season.
Yep.
No matter whether you're a first-round pick with the 4 years plus a
Technically,
team
you're
option.
eligible after your sophomore year to go to the NFL.
Well, redshirt sophomore.
Redshirt
3 years.
sophomore, yeah.
3 years removed from high school. That can mean a year at JUCO plus 2 at college, a year at a prep school, and then going to college. Larry Fitzgerald was an example. He was a true sophomore at Pitt, but went to the NFL because he spent a year at a military school up in Pennsylvania. They're not a sponsor of ours, so no shout outs here in the fast lane. But you can go down that road. This is what you're talking about. Players rushes to get to that point. But then there are players on the other end of the spectrum. And Terry McLaurin's kind of in that category. He's 30. He's looking for his last big contract before there's just not a realistic path to long-term deals. You're looking at, 1 plus a player option type deals where, he's skilled enough where he might be the type of guy that's in the Jadeveon Clowney boat. And I could be forgetting other names, but the players that have plenty of talent and are good enough, but they're always going to be one-year guys because teams are waiting to see if injury history is too bad or age is really catching up and the wear and tear falls off. And the statistical profile is the more time accrued. It's not just age. Like I'm 39 and the older I've gotten, I'm blessed to say that, I'm in pretty good shape relative to my age group in terms of Americans, but I can tell you at age 39 that workouts are not harder, but the recovery from them is. They take longer than before. And it's the same for athletes. And granted, they have world-class medical treatment that I don't happen to have. But the flip side is they're doing this for a living and putting infinitely greater wear and tear on their bodies, regardless of the sport and anyone else. And everybody's looking at this from that type of long-term gain. So, the Washington Commanders may have been done a solid by the New York Jets because there was talk of where would Terry McLaurin's contract fit in. Would it be closer to like a Jamar Chase where you're in the $40 million range? I don't view him in that category.
No.
Terry McLaurin, I don't view him as a Chase Jefferson. The name people forget, and I get he's got a lot of off-field baggage, but I heard Trey Lyle in the morning warm-up today, and they had a great interview with Lake Lewis that we're going to reference momentarily. But everybody does their wide receiver rankings and any other rankings, coach rankings, position rankings, front office rankings. It's the middle of the summer and we have nothing else to talk about rankings that always come out. Tyreek Hill's name gets omitted a lot, but he's the guy that strikes the most fear into me. Like as a Philadelphia Eagles fan, he's the one guy because of his agility and speed combination and start-stop, cut on a dime. He's the one where I go, oh, bleep. Like, I haven't seen a guy like that since Deshaun Jackson, and Hill is stronger and bigger and more durable. He's got a ton of off-field baggage, legit off-field baggage. But I don't view Terry McLaurin in that camp, 35 to 40 million per year.
No.
I view him on the lower end of that. And, it might have been a favor. Let's first of all harken back. The Jets have done favors for the Washington Commanders plenty of times. Heck, they helped them land Jaden Daniels with this infamous field goal in what would be deemed to many, unless you had a bet on it, I did not, meaningless game back at the end. And for the Jets fan, if you're real curious out there, this is 13.13 seconds of misery knowing that you might have missed out on, well, we'll explain.
The Pro Bowl kicker.
Nope, go ahead. We're ready for it.
The Pro Bowl kicker in his 12th NFL season to try to save the day for the Jets from 54. Good snap, good hold. The kick from Zuerlein is good.
It was good for the Jets, who won on a field goal to make it 30-28 with 5 seconds left. And the Commanders therefore clinched the number 2 pick in the NFL draft that the Jets could have had. And the Commanders wind up selecting Jaden Daniels. who is a franchise-altering quarterback. Now, first of all, NFL teams, the players themselves don't try to lose, but you can statistically or at least schematically do things as an organization to adjust the pathway for your franchise. And I get it, no Aaron Rodgers for the Jets as he tore that Achilles at the beginning of 2023. But in hindsight, 1 to 2 years of Aaron Rodgers left, or Jaden Daniels, who had a great first year, making it to the NFC Championship game and will be back there and probably go to a Super Bowl or two during his NFL career. I know Trey's skeptical, but even he's starting to come around, as you heard on the morning warm-up. So the Jets did a favor, but I think the Jets did another favor for the Washington Commanders because 3 years, $120 million averages out to $30 million per year. That's the extension. Now, the big difference is Terry McLaurin is not coming off of a rookie contract, so you can't front-load guarantee money and make those type of adjustments to make it very cap-friendly over the duration of a contract. Like, this is a $28 million wide receiver already in Terry McLaurin. So it's an extension, it's a pay raise, but there are a lot of things that are holdups. One of them being, and Lake Lewis touched on it, and we have already did, but he expounded upon it, age is the biggest holdup and the biggest differentiator between Garrett Wilson, who doesn't have the consistent productivity of McLaurin, but has had one good year, shown a lot of promise, and has plenty of good years perceivably ahead of him.
Perhaps the holdup, over the money is the age of Terry. Garrett Wilson is one of four, receivers at his age to do what he's done, to have 80 catches, over 1,000 yards, in each of his 3 seasons as a pro.
And that's a good point from Lake Lewis. And the age is the real sticking point, as Lake Lewis elaborated on in a great interview on the morning warm-up with Trey Lyle, VTRN Sports, Facebook Live and YouTube, or the morning warm-up wherever you listen to podcasts. But Lake elaborated on it that is the big sticking point, and here's why.
You did some research, and when you go back and you look at some of the contracts, recent memory contracts for these receivers, where it seems like each year there is one receiver that resets the market a little bit. All of those receivers were younger than 27 when they signed their contracts. So that doesn't bode well for Terry if he wants to have their money, or if not more. That could be a sticking point right there.
No doubt a sticking point. I think the age is a very reasonable sticking point when it comes to the Washington Commanders and what they're doing with their wide receiver. And now you got a blueprint for average annual value, and maybe you sweeten the pot financially, but you have fewer years on that contract. Now, McLaurin's produced. Like, there's no denying that, and Lake Lewis has been adamant throughout the entire offseason that there's going to eventually be an extension for Terry McLaurin. But there is a viable case for why McLaurin at least deserves a pay raise.
And I think, from a production standpoint, the numbers don't lie. Terry's numbers match up with anyone's. Maybe not in overall, catches per season or yards, max in one season. But I just think from a consistency standpoint, and the other thing is that with minimal quarterback play until Jaden came along. So I think you can say the same thing for Garrett as well, though. I mean, outside of Aaron Rodgers last year by name only, who was throwing him the football? Zach Wilson and some guys.
And see, that's the direct comparison. You're not comparing the age. That's the non-direct comparison between Garrett Wilson and Terry McLaurin. But, both of them have produced largely with subpar quarterback play. We'll take McLaurin's season last year, as great as it was for the Commanders. He has a franchise quarterback in Jaden Daniels throwing him the ball. Prior to that, he produced without having that, showing what he's capable of. There's still some tread left on the tire for Terry McLaurin, just not as much. This is a law of averages, and that's why you have a 4-year extension for a guy like Garrett Wilson, who's thinking, hey, I'm banking on being able to get another contract after this when I'm in my late 20s. That's the big thing that you're looking at right now. I would say, TJ, is the age being the main stick-up. I don't think it's even the financial part. I think the Commanders will gladly give a raise, but the stick-ups are age, and then the whole escrow principle of, we'll just wait till training camp starts in a week or two, because every day that those millions upon millions sit in a bank account, they accrue interest for an owner. And once you agree to that extension and then it's signed and processed, you have to start transferring that money, especially anything up front. And days may not seem like a lot to like TJ and Ed here, because let's keep it real. Like, our maybe hundreds of dollars are accruing like 0.5% interest, and a dime or two is just not going to do much for the bank. But when you're talking about like $1 billion corporations, interest, I don't know how this works in that regard. If you're a bank and want to sponsor us, please let us know. FastlaneEdLane@gmail.com or FastlaneEdLane, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. But billions of dollars sitting in a bank account, even for a short period of time, can accrue enough interest that you'd rather just wait it out and transfer it over. You combine that with age, and that's a big part of the reason why I think the deal will get done. But there's a base point for the Commanders, which is a plus if you're a fan. I think also the fact that this is lower than what you might have expected to have to pay for McLaurin, it's a plus. But there are some hangups as to why this deal has still not gotten done for Terry McLaurin and the Washington Commanders.
No, for sure. You look at McLaurin's age definitely has a factor to it, but production standpoint, he wants to be a Commander. The Commanders want to have him here. Jaden Daniels wants him because he makes Jaden Daniels look even better, right? So when you have a guy like Terry McLaurin that's a deep threat, kind of like what Garrett Wilson is, a deep threat guy, still young. I mean, we saw Larry Fitzgerald in his 30s dominating, not calling McLaurin Fitzgerald, but receivers can produce. We've seen that at that age. Look at Cooper Kupp and what he's produced. But I think, like you said, they're waiting to see what the youngins are getting first before they can go to Terry and be like, look, Terry, look, we want to give you a bunch of money, but considering your age, this is what we're willing to offer. And you're a valuable guy, but we've also got to take in the time as well. And I think McLaurin knows that. He just wants more than $15 million in his final year.
I think so. I mean, you're looking at somebody that deserves to get over $30 million per year. And we're talking, again, this is not relative to like human beings in a regular job. This is relative to the economics of an NFL operation.
Yeah, exactly. And Ed, I will say this. You pictured it. You pinpointed it perfectly. He's not Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase type money, but he is T. Higgins type money. He is Garrett Wilson type money. He is what Chris Olave will be getting soon. So I definitely think McLaurin deserves a pretty penny out of that nice pot.
The guy that he's always reminded me of, Terry McLaurin, or maybe the two guys that he's always reminded me of. He's got better than average size, better than average speed. There's no elite, like measurable, like the speed of a wide receiver that's out there, or like the cumulative start, stop, plus speed, extra gear of a Tyreek Hill. Like, I don't see that. There's not the like just raw size physicality of an A.J. Brown or a Justin Jefferson or a Jamar Chase. And I think those are three receivers in different categories. But McLaurin has always reminded me of kind of a Reggie Wayne type wide receiver. A Marvin Harrison. He's well built, 6'1", over 200 pounds. He's not the biggest, but he's tall enough, big enough, consistent enough to be able to do all the things that you would want out of a wide receiver. And because of that, you know what you're getting. And those are all skills that, like the Tyreek Hill athleticism and speed. Once that starts to go or injuries catch up, it can fall off a cliff. When it's,
for sure.
More precision-based, you can endure for a long period of time. And McLaurin's a pro, takes care of himself. Lake Lewis is very plugged in and indicates that. And I'll trust his insight from sportsjourney.com and the Lake Lewis show, as well as Tuesdays in the morning warm-up with Trey Lyle. So I put all that together and say the Commanders will give an extension, but I think it's probably looking a little bit, they're more leery of the 4-year type extension the way a Garrett Wilson got with that type of fully guaranteed money over a period of time.
If McLaurin gets an extension, it is going to be at least 2 years max.
Funny you bring that up because, first of all, Lake Lewis discussed how this whole setup frames everything for Adam Peters.
I do think what it does, though, is I think it helps Adam Peters, too, just from the standpoint of you kind of get another idea of where this money should be. Is Terry McLaurin as good as Garrett Wilson? Absolutely.
And therefore, if he's as good as Garrett Wilson, you're talking an average annual value around $30 million. And I think it'd frankly be a little higher. McLaurin is as productive. I think you've certainly got a couple years left. But you brought up the interesting point of the age and where this all ends. Lake Lewis, kind of on the same boat as he said earlier in the morning warm-up today.
You could be looking at a 2-year extension with a 3rd-year option.
Lake Lewis hitting the nail on the head. And there's a big reason why that's the case. If we were good hosts, we'd tease it, but we'll just go ahead and pay it off right now. And that's because you've already got 1 year of Jaden Daniels.
Yep.
I'll use Philly because I'm a selfish Eagles fan here for a second. Jalen Carter's played 2 years in the league. After your 3rd year, you're eligible for an extension. Barring something stupid, and that's an important clause with Jalen Carter, given his track record. He is not known as the best decision maker. Go Google Jalen Carter driving Georgia, and you'll figure out what we're discussing. and there were other maturity questions coming out. But let's just say Jalen Carter can keep his head on straight and have another productive all-pro caliber season. He'll be the top paid defensive player in the NFL when free agency begins.
Absolutely.
And Philadelphia locks those guys up early.
Yeah.
So they're like Howie Roseman, for one of his greatest skills is he'll lock up a receiver early and beat the market value. Devontae Smith, extension, but it was $25 million a year when most number 2 receivers were getting closer to what T. Higgins got. That's a big savings for Philly. A.J. Brown locked him up for $32 million a year. Now those top receivers are near $40 million a year. Jalen Carter's going to get above $30 million on that extension, and Philadelphia will find a way to create it. Like, that's why they're not spending money as much this offseason on a lot of players and let a lot of their Super Bowl players go because you can't pay everybody. But where this comes in with the Commanders is the 2 years plus 3. 2 more years from now, Jaden Daniels is going to be eligible for an extension.
Exactly.
He will be one of the top 5 paid quarterbacks in the NFL at that particular time because there's going to be so much in front of him, and he's already accomplished so much. And that is part of the reason why you're framing the Terry McLaurin deal is you're not going to be able to pay everybody. And with all due respect to McLaurin, you're going to pay Jaden Daniels. And by that point, as much of a leader as McLaurin has been, 2 more years of Jaden Daniels running this offense, he will be the unquestioned leader. And therefore, you can phase that element of value out of McLaurin to a certain extent.
Exactly. You can find more dynamic receivers. McLaurin's time is coming soon. You got to think about that. Whereas, like, you talk about the Eagles with Jalen Carter and everything. Eagles were smart. They signed Zach Mon for a couple more years because he had a great performance, right? A.J. Brown around Terry McLaurin's age, they kept it simple, but a plain extension to keep him happy. And I think that's what the Commanders need to do with McLaurin. Keep him happy. Make him that dynamic frame a part of that offense, and then continue on planning for the future because eventually there will be more A.J. Browns and Terry McLaurin's drafted into this league.
Very good points. Is there going to be more of them? And you're banking on the Commanders. I would expect them to draft a receiver high in the next couple of years because Deebo Samuel's older. McLaurin's got age. You're thinking about guys that could replace it. If Jalen Lane out of Virginia Tech, the more athletic Lane, of course, develops the way that people would expect a Lane to develop with great athleticism, with perfection when it comes to studying your craft, with pure attention to detail on every single matter, with unbridled intensity. Okay, that's him, not me. But Jalen Lane, if he develops, he's the type of guy you could look to for that early extension as well relative to the market. But the Commanders are going to draft because you're not going to be able to pay everybody, and that's the value of building right now around the cheaper Jaden Daniels when in a couple of years, that cheapness is going to completely be flipped around. Meanwhile, when we return in the fast lane, speaking of good deals, local sports, tons of games, good deals. You can not only get that at InsaneRadioDeals.com, but you'll also be able to find that with the Commonwealth Games main games weekend. President Dan Fouts joins us next to discuss the legacy of the event, 10-year anniversary in the Hill City, and its future heading to Richmond. All that when we return here in the fast lane, VTR and Sports app, and ask that smart speaker open VTR and Sports.
Are heating up, and so are the summer super deals at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile. You don't need super strength to get approved for credit. Sheeler owns the finance company. Getting approved for credit is super easy on the Motor Mile with financing options for every budget. Sheeler makes car buying easy with the hottest brands all in one location. Cars, trucks, vans, SUVs. Many have miles in the teens, remaining factory warranties, and some are even local one-owner vehicles. Over 900 used vehicles in stock now and ready to move. More than any other dealer in the area. Plus exceptional service, selection, and savings. Need some summer spending cash? Sheeler will buy your vehicle even if you don't buy from us. Plus super money for your trade. Volume selling means volume pricing. And we've got the volume with over 900 used vehicles in stock now. No games, no gimmicks, just summer super deals at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile. Your premier used car dealer. Locally owned for over 50 years. ID1 exit 118C in Christiansburg. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at Sheeler.com.
The Salem Red Sox come to town July 29th through August 3rd, and the Lynchburg Hillcats are bringing fun for every age. On Friday, make sure to get to the gates early as we'll have another special giveaway for you. Saturday will feature our Military Appreciation Night with post-game fireworks. Then on Sunday, bring the kids for a meet and greet with everyone's favorite healer, Bluey. Get your tickets today at lynchburg-hillcats.com.
Gorgeous blue waters, friendly people, the most beautiful island in the world. Getting to the Caribbean is hard, but experiencing it is easy at the Caribbean Jerk Pot. Oh yeah, come enjoy the best taste of the Caribbean with simples like jerk chicken and oxtail, authentic season, hot, mild, spicy as you like. You can order from 1 to 7 p.m. weekdays on DoorDash or Grubhub, or browse the full menu at CaribbeanJerkPot.com and call us to spice up your private event at 434-426-4047. We'll come and bring the Caribbean taste to you.
Don Pedro's army has just returned home victorious after the war. Love is in the air, even as two of Shakespeare's most tumultuous couples exchange hilarious quips and damning accusations. Will the truth win in this mischievous game of love? Find out in End Station Theater Company at Randolph College's dazzling music-filled outdoor production of Much Ado About Nothing, running July 2nd through the 20th at Point of Honor. For tickets and information, visit endstationtheater.org.
Tuesday on the morning warm-up, Lake Lewis joined us to truly debate if Jayden Daniels already is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Plus, we talked about how the Garrett Wilson contract extension affects the Terry McLaurin contract situation for the Commanders, and much more. Wednesday, Bryson Gordon joins us to talk all things Liberty on the morning warm-up, weekday morning, 7 to 8 a.m. on VTRN Sports, 93.3 FM, 1320 a.m., and on the VTRN Sports app. VTRN Sports is presented by Downtown Cairo. Authentic Mediterranean and Egyptian food. Downtown Cairo, Grace Mill Shopping Center in Forest, and Business 29 in Madison Heights.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
It's here, main games week, and coming up for the Commonwealth Games, Friday night opening ceremonies at Liberty University, full fan fest as this has become an event where family can go in from 5 to 8 p.m. It's an awesome experience over at Liberty University. And the man who joins us now to discuss that, the president of Virginia Amateur Sports, Dan Fouts. We throw a great pass over to him. Yes, we're using the convenient, cheesy segue and the quarterback. Dan Fouts, welcome back into the Fast Lane, Dan. Glad to have you once again. This week, it's game week for you and your crew over there. Not that it's not always game week, but the intensity picks up. How much can you start to feel that as you continue to go through this each and every year?
As we speak right now, just kind of tying up some loose ends for the opening ceremonies, working with Liberty and the video process for the program that we have in place, and we just we've gotten pretty good at it. It's been an excellent team environment that we've had with both the city of Lynchburg, their personnel, the city of Lynchburg Parks and Recs department, and of course Liberty and their athletic training department, external events, logistics, from the top down. We've just had a great relationship and a great team.
Dan Fouts, president of Virginia Amateur Sports, hanging out with us today here in the Fast Lane. You mentioned the partnership with Liberty University and the way the facilities in Liberty have been able to embrace and put their arms around this event. 10-year anniversary. Obviously, we'll get to the future of this in a moment. But when you partnered with Liberty University and shifted the games over from the Roanoke Valley, and there's still some events held over there, but made Lynchburg the hub as it's been for the last decade, how did the vision for utilizing Liberty in the city of Lynchburg as a resource, did it match the reality that you and your crew experienced?
I think so. I think I can answer that with a yes. And our progress kind of spells that out for us. We've grown every year that we've been there, with the exception of 2020. There was a little glitch. It was called the pandemic. But we were still in Lynchburg that year, the only event that we held all of our outdoor events, with the exception of mountain biking. And that was about 40% of our participation. And it was the only thing that happened in Lynchburg that year. That was an external event where we could have fans and that type of thing, because some of the restrictions were easing as we got into July. Worked directly with the health department there in Lynchburg and the governor's office to make sure that we were compliant. Not one, we never received one case of COVID that was traced back to us. And, So I look at that as our most mighty year. And, I guess we could say 2019 was State Games of America. That was a big event. And Lynchburg was alive for sure. And so was the campus at Liberty. But we've had a great run.
Dan Fouts, president of Virginia Amateur Sports. I'm even repping my Virginia Amateur Sports and Virginia Commonwealth Games band today, as I do regularly. If you see it in photos from running and participating in events, we'll get to that again in just a moment. But looking at the pandemic and the way you and your crew navigated it, what have you been able to accomplish in large part because of a crew that this is not, you have a tons of volunteers and you'll take as many of them as possible. But as far as the staff at Virginia Amateur Sports, this is not, it's not an Olympic-sized staff, but it's clearly Olympic-sized heart with the amount of effort they've put in to making this an event that has ultimately shown in the city of Lynchburg over the last decade.
Yeah. Again, I go back to the teamwork that we have, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention our sport coordinators. Each sport has a coordinator or several coordinators, and they do a lot of the lifting, the heavy lifting, and we're there as a resource, and that's what we've become. Our social media platform that's put out by our operations and director of operations and media with Charity Waldron, Diane Williams, our marketing director, with just tons of experience in marketing, and that's why we've been able to grow and the growth that we've had. So, but I can tell you, we've got this thing down to a T. We really do. And sometimes when that happens, you have to look back and say, okay, is this getting easier? Is it too easy? Is it time for change? And I think that's kind of where we are. And but we're going to look forward to the rest of this week, several events that go on where we honor and recognize our sponsors, our VIPs, that kind of thing, our sports sponsors, our sport coordinators. And, that happens Thursday, where we do that. That's more of a private event. But then Friday, the opening ceremonies, it's going to kick off. The Parade of Athletes starts at 5:30. The athletes and the coaches, they get behind them in the outdoor practice field, and then they come into the indoor, nice and air conditioned, where we'll take about a 30-minute presentation. We'll light the cauldron. We've got some exciting people to come and talk to us a little bit. Miss Virginia, the newly crowned Miss Virginia, will be there. It's just going to be a fun and electric time. After that, we have this huge tailgate party, which is just fun, and our teams and their coaches, they just love this event. And so we're looking forward to Friday. And then, hey, we've already had several sports that have gone on through the first part of the year. We had a great weekend last weekend with our Able baseball over at the softball field at Liberty University. And the Able sports are, of course, for those with physical and intellectual disabilities. And it's good for the heart to see that. And they get to compete and have fun. And at the same time, All-Star Baseball was going on just right across over in the baseball stadium. And we got that in without weather. So, right now in my position, a little worried about the weather if you look outside right now and the forecast. But, we have policies in place that will deal with that.
You guys have put this on for so long. It's been such a staple, the Commonwealth Games, putting on events leading up to main games weekend and then even extending beyond the weekend as well. My personal favorite, of course, is the Star City Half Marathon and 10K, which is part of this production from Virginia Amateur Sports. That's coming in the month of November, right before Thanksgiving, and always a highlight of mine, even if I have to drive to Sharando the night before, like this past year, which was an adventure to go be part. It just makes it more fun when you do that, though, Dan. You mentioned able body, though, and the fact that you've got baseball, you got wheelchair basketball, bowling, fishing, track and field, soccer, wheelchair tennis, able wheelchair tennis as well. And, I caught some of that at Wimbledon over the weekend, but the expansion of able body events that have been a part of this, how much of that has been something that you and your staff have taken pride in, and more importantly, been embraced by those that participate and rally around the Commonwealth Games?
Yeah, it's been something that we've had on the back burner, meeting with other states that do what we do. We kind of model ourselves a little bit after Iowa's games, or we try to, and they have a whole division that's nothing but adaptive sports. And so we had that on our plate of things to do, and then COVID came. So we were on the heels. We didn't want to do anything before leading up to 2019 in the State Games of America, because it was all hands on deck just to pull that event off. And then afterwards, 2020 was when we wanted to roll it out. But of course, the pandemic kind of put that on a back burner. And so now we see that as an opportunity for growth. But more importantly, our mission statement is to provide opportunities for health and wellness for all Virginians. And that's and we need to do that.
Dan Phelps,
we're doing it.
We are, and you guys have done such a great job of growing that and being a part of it. We'll get to the future of the Commonwealth Games when we wrap up our chat with you today here in the Fast Lane. But the main games weekend, the highlight of it, of course, is not just Thursday night. And I'm fortunate and thankful that you guys invite peons like us in the Fast Lane and the Virginia Talk Radio Network to your VIP reception. You got to have somebody to be like, hey, don't be like that person, as an example. But, you've got the main games weekend and all that goes into Friday. How big of an asset has the Liberty University indoor practice facility been in the Friday development to where it's not just the lighting of the cauldron and Miss America and having great people to present it, but the fact that this has turned into an event on Friday nights, a family-friendly event with activities that promote sports and action, and on top of that, being able to feed people and give them the nourishment physically to be able to compete in those events?
Yeah, I think it's in my time, the games have been here. This will be the 10th year. It'll be my 9th year, as the president of Virginia Amateur Sports. And I've seen it change and adjust as we, again, look outside. We deal with weather. And it's such a big event. And our teams and coaches and participants look so forward to this. If we have a lightning storm, we need to have a plan B like we did in 2019 and moving it into the Vine Center at the very last minute, and that really puts a lot of stress, not just on our staff, but also that of Liberty's. And so we decided, hey, why don't we just, the fireworks show is always a great event at the end, but you pay all that money for the fireworks. And if the weather's bad, you don't get to shoot them off. And you don't necessarily get your money back, if you know what I mean. So we had the idea, hey, why don't we do the opening ceremonies first? This was like 3 years ago. And then we have the tailgate party afterwards. It's just been working great so far, Ed.
It has. It's really cool, just the development and the pivotability and the adaptability of your staff. It leads us to the wrap-up of our chat today, but also the future of the Commonwealth Games. This is the 10th and final year of the event being in the Lynchburg area. How much of the key and the trigger, and I mean that in a positive way, but the key and the prompt of the Commonwealth Games leaving Lynchburg and heading towards Richmond next year has been buoyed by the fact that you guys have made this to the point where it's easy, you've been able to adapt on the fly, and now there's a chance to challenge yourselves and open up the development of this game to a new audience and people that are further from our Central Virginia area.
Right. It's a great perspective to put it, but I think it's time for a change. We really appreciate the partners that we've had. They're just fantastic. And if you look at Liberty University 10 years ago, or even 11 years ago, when it was in the works that it was going to move from the Roanoke area over, Liberty was still, looking for an identity, particularly from a sports standpoint. They were on the map, but now I can say, if you look at their prominent athletic programs, they are on the map, so we kind of like to think that we helped bring some of that attention to them, putting our kids and our families on campus and exposing them. But at this point, I don't know that Liberty needs a lot of exposure. Their athletic department, led by Ian McCall, the athletic director, and all the great coaches. What a program. People want to come to Liberty, some of the best facilities in the world.
That's a great way to phrase it. The fact of the way this is transitioned. We'll wrap it up on this, Dan. Sweet, bittersweet. What's the vibe and the emotion for you and your team, knowing what Lynchburg has meant to the Commonwealth Games, knowing it's going to be a 10th year, which is awesome to have that much time in one place, but knowing that a change is in the future for the Commonwealth Games also?
I would say it's bittersweet. That's the way I personally look at it because, I've met a lot of friends, and people that I won't be engaged with, but I'm looking forward to meeting new contacts and business professionals and new sponsors and keeping the ones that we have. And we want to keep a good relationship with not only Liberty, but the city of Lynchburg, because we are Virginia's state games. And, we can hold, and we do hold games all over the state. And so maybe it's possible that we could keep a couple of things in the Central Virginia area before moving to Richmond.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. A presence in the Central Virginia area, and the fact that, this can become a true Commonwealth event where there are different events held across the region and embraced by so many of us that we get to be a part of. Dan, thank you for your time today in the Fast Lane. We gratefully appreciate the fact that you've been generous enough to join us each of these years. We love partnering with Virginia Amateur Sports for the Commonwealth Games, Main Games weekend. We encourage our audience to head out to Liberty University by 5:30 p.m. on Friday at the indoor practice facility for all the festivities. It is very family friendly. Worth noting that for those that have kids out there or might have grandkids and want to come out. And of course, looking forward to seeing you and your crew later this week.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you, Ed, for the relationship and the partnership.
It's been awesome, and it continues to be. Dan Fouts, president of Virginia Amateur Sports, with us here in the Fast Lane. Partnerships, they're made from a business standpoint. Is the ACC doing enough to copy some of those? We'll explain, plus get to some of your feedback that's come in on the MLB All-Star Game, which is tonight. And I'll be honest, my thoughts on it may be different from yours. We'll discuss all of that when we return here in the Fast Lane on the VTRN Sports app. Ask that smart speaker, open VTRN Sports and Fast Lane Ed Lane, wherever you listen to podcasts, including Facebook Live and YouTube.
Ready to fall head over heels for the perfect VW SUV. One size doesn't fit all, though, and that's why Volkswagen has an SUV for everyone. From the compact and affordable Volkswagen Taos to the tech-packed Tiguan and the spacious Volkswagen Atlas. No matter which one fits your lifestyle, you'll love the comfort, performance, and safety. Stop by Terry Volkswagen on Forest Road in Lynchburg or check us out online at terryvw.com. Terry Volkswagen. You'll love our cars.
Car insurance rates are rising rapidly. That's no secret. It's because the cost of medical care for those who are injured and the repair and replacement cost of damaged vehicles is skyrocketing. But what can you do about it? Hi, this is Judd Gardner with Gardner Insurance Solutions in Lynchburg. We've been helping Central Virginia drivers purchase the coverage they need at affordable prices since 1993. Talk with us before you pay again. We represent numerous companies and have many cost-saving strategies. Gardner Insurance Solutions, 434-316-5433.
Since we've been advertising with the Virginia Talk Radio Network, we've grown at Executive Maintenance, and we need more help. Are you a hard worker looking to earn some extra money? Executive Maintenance would love to speak with you. We're adding honest, trustworthy people who have their own transportation and a good attitude. We'll check your references, so make sure you're ready to bring the right attitude to Executive Maintenance. If you bring that, then we'll bring you up to par with the skills needed to excel. Call us today and learn more at executivemaintenancelynchburg.com.
Hi, I'm Matt with Fleet Feet Roanoke. I've enjoyed working with Ed Lane and the Virginia Talk Radio Network. But when they sold their Roanoke station, I was skeptical the partnership could still provide value. Months later, I'm thankful that Ed took the time to meet with me, discuss the right solutions, and a plan to invite his audience to Fleet Feet Roanoke. Now we're able to build a connection with that audience thanks to Ed's creativity. Stop by and see us at Fleet Feet Roanoke to learn more. We'd love to get to know you.
Email info@virginiatalkradionetwork.com to start growing your business.
Have you looked at your home's exterior lately? Do you see faded siding, paint peeling, and wood rotting, windows that are impossible to open and close, and gutters falling off? Call Collins Siding and Windows to transform your home's exterior and save you money on energy costs. Dreaming of a new porch or sunroom? Collins can do that too. Since 1989, Collins Siding and Windows has been transforming homes in Central Virginia. Roofs, windows, siding, gutters, porches, decks, and sunrooms. They can do it all. Call Collins Siding and Windows today, 434-525-6307.
This fall, Saturdays belong to the Hokies. Oh, and these Hokie fans are going crazy here in College Town, USA. Lane Stadium, electrifying, iconic, the best in college football. Oh, you'd have to be here to believe it. Built by tradition and fueled by passion. Breaks free at the 10 to the 5. Touchdown Tech, where every roar and every cheer brings you home. Are you ready to start jumping? Tickets on sale now. Visit Hokiesports.com. Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
Yes, indeed. Back in the Fast Lane. Imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. And we get to that right now in the Fast Five at 5-ish.
It's time for Fast Five at 5-ish. 5-ish minutes on 5 relevant topics done around 5 p.m.-ish. Ish, because our counting skills are kind of ish. Let's start with number 5.
Yesterday, the New York Jets agreed to terms 4 years, $124 million contract with wide receiver Garrett Wilson. Now, not only have the Washington Commanders found a blueprint for imitating that deal with Terry McLaurin, nothing is official yet, but a lot of people believe that's going to be the case. You might catch up with Lake Lewis or Seawall in the next couple of days if that deal breaks on Friday or Monday, because you'll be filling in for me on those days, TJ. But the Jets imitated it themselves. Ahmad Sauce Gardner, 4 years, $120 million contract himself, making him the highest paid cornerback in the NFL. $124 million per year. It is like $30.1 million, which is a tick above former LSU and current Texans cornerback Derek Stingley. These are always one-upsmanships where one deal is basically the precursor for the next. I will say this. Sauce Gardner and Stingley, you could make a very compelling case that they're two of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. I know Gardner had an off year last year. Those things do tend to happen, but when you're talking about position value and versatility at his peak, fully locked in, Gardner, I think, is actually the best cornerback in the NFL to the point where teams shied in terms of throwing his way, which is why the statistics weren't great. Like, cornerback is the reverse position of so many. A lot of positions, you're looking for stats. Offensive line, like, lower stats are better because that means there are fewer sacks allowed.
Yeah.
So, like, Lane Johnson, who I would say is the best right tackle in the NFL, maybe one of the best of all time at that position, like, the stats are boring because there's just nothing happening there. Well, the same thing with a cornerback. Like, when they're at their best, there's just not a lot of activity taking place in that direction. Gardner fits that profile. There's multiple forms of imitation. I'll at least give the Jets this credit. They got to figure out quarterback, and I think long-term that's a big concern. But, hey, locking up young players on the cheap early, get that thing done quicker. We touched on it. The Eagles are going to do it with Jalen Carter. The Commanders, you can best be assured they're going to do it in 2 years with quarterback Jaden Daniels. It's the smartest way teams can operate. And in part, it's because when you've got these younger players, particularly first-round picks like Gardner, when you lock them up after 3 years, you've got a 4th year they're already under contract. If they're a first-round pick, there's the team option for a 5th year. You can negotiate against that, or maybe not even against that, but you can spread that extension out over a long period of time. So the Gardner extension really is a 6-year deal now with the Jets. He's got 2 years left on the rookie deal, plus 4 years after that. You can get real creative with the salary cap by doing that. Teams are wisening up to it, and I think it's a smart move. And oh, by the way, like, teams are mad at the Philadelphia Eagles for how they've structured contracts. Why hate on them? Do what the Jets are doing. Do what the Commanders will do with Jaden Daniels.
Exactly.
It's not that hard. Look at them. Sorry to your Cowboys who wait till the last second and then get stuck paying above market value. And they can't get deals locked up with cap friendly. Like, they and the Saints are the example of how they've done that. Go get these guys done as early as possible so you can jump through the hoops that the cap allows. I'm fine with that, and the Commanders will do that. The Jets are doing it now. Philly has done it. It's called smart business, taking care of your own, rather than making them just beg for extensions all the time.
Exactly, and we talk about if Breece Hall gets signed, they'll probably wait till after this year to give him an extension. But I will say this, playing corner and hitting a baseball are two of the hardest things to do in sports. So lock up the best ones while you can and while they're still young. Sauce Gardner, consistent top 5.
I love your point about baseball. Like, when you talk about just physically the most challenging things to do, that's a whole nother case, but, we'll go into.
Number 4.
And?
Time to take a detour in the fast lane.
I know, we're doing 2 and 1 here. When you're talking about hard things to do, playing cornerback is really challenging. Like, skills. Playing cornerback, because you have to but you have to guess what the other guy is doing, or study and know and read body language and process and react quickly. Like, it's a reactionary position. You're reacting to what the receiver's doing. That is such a rare level of athleticism. I would say cornerback an offensive line, because when you're in pass protection, you're reacting to what the defenders are doing. It is so much harder to excel consistently at a high level and be reactionary. And it's just, again, we're talking about athletes here. They're well compensated, but just appreciating the skill that goes into that. You mentioned baseball. I think dunking a basketball, it's why the detour part of this is why I thought LeBron is the best basketball player of this generation, but Steph Curry is the most relatable because, dude, he's like 3 inches, but about as thick as I am right now. Like I'm 5'11", 150. You're talking about somebody that's 6'3", shy of 200 pounds. But he's relatable because he's the scrawny guy that we can all envision ourselves being, but he's just really good at making threes, which we could all have believed that to have been us growing up. Like every kid grows up and is probably more like Steph Curry than they are LeBron James, who, as great as he's been, is a physical marvel and freak. But I think it's equally great to admire athletes that maybe don't have all those skills and yet can still put it all together.
No, I love that point that you just brought out, Ed. Everyone wants to either dunk the ball like LeBron or they want to make threes like Stephen Curry, the most exciting things to do in baseball. Everyone wants to hit a home run. Everyone wants to throw a touchdown. And it's fun to watch players that don't always have that full skill set, but at the same time are still able to compete. Look at what Russell Wilson did. Small quarterback, not expected to do well, went to back-to-back Super Bowls and won one in his pocket.
Meanwhile, by the way,
after Ed's potentially unnecessary detour, let's get back on the road in the fast lane. Number 3.
Washington Commanders wide receiver Art Monk will have his jersey retired against the Seahawks at halftime of that game on November 2nd. 81 is heading into the rafters. Here's the rhetorical question.
Yeah.
What took so long? I think we know the answer.
Dan Snyder's gone, and this management actually cares about the Commanders, man.
You answered the question that many people knew. What took so long? I don't know, 2.5 decades? That's what took so long? Like, duh.
We're getting a better Sean Taylor statue, Ed. This already is looking great for the Commanders. Finally, Art Monk gets recognized soon. Hopefully, John Riggins will get recognized more. It's a great time to be a Commanders fan under this man.
The only shame of it is that this announcement came out around noon today. This is one Ty and Trey are going to bemoan when they discuss it Wednesday in the morning warm-up, because it came right after that great chat they had with Lake Lewis that we quoted earlier today in the Fast Lane. By the way, speaking of imitation being one of the most sincere forms of flattery.
Number 3.
Excuse me, not number 3.
Number 2.
There we go, getting my numbers mixed up. Netflix has released a trailer for SEC football. Any given Saturday, it will premiere August 5th. Look, there's so many of these shows out there that it's probably not going to be at the top of my list. I'm more curious about the quarterback documentary. We'll air plenty of SEC football games and Big Ten games and college football games to complement being the home for the Virginia Tech Hokies and your home for a slew of NFL Thursday night, Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, Monday night, holidays, playoffs. We'll have all that coming up. But when it comes to these type of documentaries, my imitation is the most sincere form of flattery goes to the ACC. This is the type of thing they should be doing. And for football, look, I'd love to have seen it. We know why North Carolina was going to be on Hard Knocks, and then somebody may have gotten in the way and vetoed Bill Belichick and Michael Lombardi and said, it's not a good idea. What would we know at age like 23 about good ideas on how to promote ourselves or how to just control the narrative instead? But, I digress. But if we're not going to do it with that, or the Miami Hurricanes, we already have documentaries on them, but now we kind of get like an in-person, real-time one of what it's like to deal with NIL in South Beach and all the frills that may go on, which I would pay to see that. Those players with all the money going out to South Beach and living it up as, 18 to 22-year-olds. I mean, it may not be something that you want to be portraying in your program, but it would be very entertaining. And if you're winning, who would care? The ACC could do this for football.
Yeah.
Any given Saturday, the ways to profile a place like Virginia Tech behind the scenes with Inner Sandman and the tradition that everyone knows of there.
Yeah.
I know they've done stuff with the ACC network, but with all due respect, Netflix is larger than the ACC network. Netflix is the equivalent of like if it's a 30 for 30 and distributed and promoted on a much broader national level. That's where the SEC is excelling. This is where the ACC should take a cue as well. It's not going to be as glamorous for football, and I get the players change more regularly, but ACC basketball, doing something like this with the history of the conference and the resurgence going on at Louisville, Duke's a strong program. It's North Carolina coming up with a very tension-filled season, let's call it that way. If Hubert Davis doesn't perform, he's on his way out. You got 4 marquee brands that are good on TV right there. Who knows? Virginia might even be in that category at some point going forward. All of those are things that you can look at and say, wow, this would be really fun and would be worth imitating. But it's an example of the ACC just kind of being behind everybody when it comes to knowing how to imitate these type of moves.
Ryan Odom definitely seems like a reality star to me.
I think he's much more. I mean, look, I love Tony Bennett. I respect the fact that, again, legitimately, like we were blessed to have great interviews with him every year at the ACC tip-off, but he did not like doing media regularly. Like if you didn't get him at that time for a one-on-one, you weren't getting him unless maybe you're a national outlet. And even then, he kept that to a minimum. Ryan Odom's doing more. He will be more open with the program. And I think he fits the values of Virginia, but just personality-wise, he could open up more. It's kind of an example of how Bennett is the best Virginia coach ever, but Odom is a really good fit for Virginia right now with where the game is gone and what's needed. But imitation, I'd love to see the ACC copy this, not just your ACC network productions, but pushing ESPN and pushing other platforms to do this type of partnership and promotion as well. Meanwhile, speaking of imitation, the Clemson Tiger himself is not only getting an upgrade with a new uniform, the school is set to unveil a jersey patch sponsorship with their mascot. Okay, that's a starting spot. These need to be coming to teams in the ACC.
Yeah.
LSU is already going down this road in the SEC. Do you honestly think other SEC schools are going to go, it's really working for one of our biggest rivals. We'll let them just go ahead and accrue plenty more
dollar bills, y'all.
and we'll be left behind. If you're an ACC program that's not actively looking for jersey patch sponsorships, and if you're ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips and you're not imploring your schools to pursue this source of revenue, and who knows, maybe he is, and we'll find out next Tuesday when we're at the ACC kickoff in Charlotte and he speaks with the media. Then what are we doing here if you're the ACC? You've got to get creative with revenue. Yes, the SEC and the Big Ten will eventually copy you. Yes, Notre Dame might do the same thing. But if they don't, these don't have to be like the European soccer leagues where you don't even get to see the real team logo. It's just a big billboard.
Yeah.
I don't really like that. But the NBA, I poop on the NBA in certain areas, but they've done a great job of that. This is something that should be coming to the ACC as well. To me, yes, Clemson's mascot getting a jersey patch sponsorship is a start, but in no way should this be the final point.
No. And especially when you're a guy like Jim that chalks up how the ACC revenue-wise keeps up with both the SEC and Big Ten. If you want to keep that, maintain that, you've got to go this route.
Indeed. And there are other elements of this too as well. We did an InsaneRadioDeals.com fast take on the radio a couple of days ago, but the Big 12 and the Big 10 have already rolled out deals with PayPal to be the official financial services partner and provider to facilitate payments of NIL to athletes. Like, I think this is great. Like, this is part of the ACC kind of thumbing their nose at the idea of paying players for so long. And look, to their credit, when $7 million or more is being spent by like 7 to 8 basketball programs, and we've got Virginia Tech, Virginia, Miami, Florida State, Clemson, and others that are embracing pay for play. Clemson does it in football. They just do it to retain their players and recruit and retain and develop internally much more than other programs. But I mean, let's be real. If Clemson wasn't paying their players internally, they'd transfer out and leave. Clemson's setup, I think, is actually really conducive to long-term success. It's draft and develop and minimal free agency, which is frankly what the best programs kind of do. Georgia doesn't do a lot of talent acquisition in the transfer portal. Ohio State really doesn't. They just identify guys. They have systems in place to develop and then pay. But this is how it should be done. But the Big 10 and the Big 12 with the PayPal deal as the official financial services provider to facilitate NIL payments, that too is a creative mechanism that should be embraced in the ACC. You put all of this together, and this is where you look at the fact that the Big 12 doesn't have the brands of the ACC, but why I'd be more optimistic if I'm a school looking to go to a place like the Big 12 because of that level of creativity. Meanwhile, we'll get to fan feedback tomorrow in the Fast Lane. We've had some really good thoughts from Carl on the All-Star game, from Shannon on missed opportunities with the NBA and the NFL, and maybe they'll chime in on some other stuff in the next couple of weeks. But when we come back tomorrow in the Fast Lane, we will get into that. And really what we'll get into is a lot of Liberty Flames talk. I've wanted to wait for a while to dive into the Sun Belt expansion and the tentacles for Liberty University and what this really means. My initial thought is this: short-term pain, long-term gain for Liberty, where I can understand why they'd want to be part of the Sun Belt, and it makes more sense with so many natural rivals. But I also think for Liberty, being excluded from that, just keep in mind that there is maybe bigger picture values for the Liberty Flames that they're looking at long term. So just food for thought. We'll get to that tomorrow in the Fast Lane. Keep your feedback coming. Fast Lane Ed Labor. You'll listen to podcasts, including Facebook Live and YouTube. Ty and I, or Trey and I will be back tomorrow. TJ, prayers to you in your car situation. We hope you don't have to call Sheeler, but you might. In the meantime, we're back tomorrow, 5 to 6 p.m. Fast Lane Ed Lane, including Facebook Live and YouTube if you missed anything. Thanks for listening to The Fast Lane on VTRN Sports, 93.3 FM, W227 BG Timberlake.